What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is the Blacklist, Season 9, Episode 7, Between Sleep and Awake. So, overall, I honestly don't have a whole lot to say about this episode. It was good. It was solid. Nice to see some of what was going on with Wrestler in between the end of last season and now. I kind of expect them to do this for everybody at some point. Maybe some will get just kind of little glimpses here and there. I feel like with Wrestler, I would think with Dembe and then maybe with Reddington, we will probably have an episode where we really focus in on what happened in between the end of the last season and where we are now. Because with Park and with Aram, with Cooper, we already kind of have an idea, I feel like. So maybe they'll have a few flashbacks thrown in just to sort of maybe fill in some gaps. But with Park, we already know she got married. She started teaching at the training, whatever. For Rom, we know he tried to start up a business with his friend. With Cooper, we know that he just kind of, has been taking care of Agnes this whole time. But with Wrestler, there was a question of how did he end up getting back onto drugs? Like, what caused this? What caused him to sort of end up where he was in that moment when Cooper found him? And I think a lot of it was very well done. I think it does give us more of a glimpse into why he kind of slid back into getting hooked on the painkillers again. And I think it makes sense, more so than just he ended up in a wreck and that's why he got back on. It's also dealing with the emotional pain he's dealing with inside too. That's something that can very easily get you back on that track toward addiction again. So I think they did a good job of showing where he was, his mindset. The little story with the woman and her son that she was trying to protect from an abusive stepfather, it was okay. It was kind of straightforward. This guy was a cop. She remarried him and he turned into an asshole, started abusing her and then abused her son, and that's what caused her to get out of there. He was looking for her, finds them, Wrestler takes him down. Easy peasy. Nothing too special there. I do wonder if they'll come back at some point because I couldn't tell if they were trying to set up a possible romantic thing between him and her. I don't think so. But at the same time, I could also see some people being like, oh, he protected her, and look how much he connected with her son. They should get together. Like, I could see fans trying to do that and trying to force that. So maybe she will come back, and maybe that's what they'll do with it. But if not, then it was a fine little side story for what it was. So all in all, it was a good, solid episode. I really enjoyed Wrestler's speech at the end as well when he was talking to Liz in the grave. But yeah, that's kind of all there is to say about this one. So on to the next one. I'll see you there. And now episode 8, Dr. Razmik Meyer. So this one was okay as well. Again, the Blacklisters, for whatever reason this season, the Blacklisters have not been that interesting. And that's kind of a surprise, because most of the time, the Blacklisters tend to be some of the funnest parts about the season, getting to see all these crazy people and what awful things they're doing. So far this season has just been very bland. And then this one, guy who's essentially working to juice up athletes so that, the mob or whoever can win bets and cook the books and all of that stuff. It's stuff that, it's okay, it's fine, and then find out he's not actually working for them. It's like, okay, so there's a bit of mystery, and then they bring in this one guy who's apparently sponsoring some of these athletes, and instantly it's him. Like, as soon as he got introduced, I'm thinking, okay, he's suspicious. Is he the one that did it? Sure enough. I had that thought as soon as he walked in to the one scene with the parents of the kid that got killed at the beginning of the episode. I already had my suspicions. And then they were confirmed the moment that they brought him in for questioning, and he was like talking about that Stella girl, and she was doing really good stuff, and just she was courageous enough to stand up and say something when I wasn't. I feel really bad about what happened to her, and I wish I had the strength to say. As soon as he was giving that whole speech, I'm like, okay, yeah, he's definitely the bad guy. Like, I've seen enough shows and mystery shows and stuff to know that when you've got a guy this vehemently, like, praising somebody that was killed, probably had something to do with it. So yeah, it was pretty obvious, pretty straightforward. I was not really all that interested in it, to be honest. Stuff on the outside, though, I'm curious to see where a lot of it goes. Wrestler, seeing what he's dealing with, seeing the struggle he's going through, I think they're doing a pretty decent job with it. You know, they're not just after that last episode, oh, he's done. He's good, guys. We don't have to worry about him. No, it's not that easy in life, and I'm glad that they aren't making it super easy, barely an inconvenience for him, because that really, I think, speaks a lot more to the strength of wrestler, knowing how difficult what he's going through is, and how hard he's going to fight to kind of push past it. So I like that storyline. I hope it doesn't stretch on for too long, but right now I think we're right in a good middle point where he's hit that crossroads. You know, he's had his moment of he's gone to talk to Liz to face the pain that's in front of him, and now it's kind of a which way does he go? And he started to go the one direction, but Park was there to kind of help bring him back. And so now he's kind of hitting that point of he's willing to chain himself to a pipe in his office and put the drugs right across the room from him, almost to kind of force himself to push past the addiction, which I don't know how well that would work. I don't know if anybody watching this knows anything about addiction and that stuff, but would something like that work if you were addicted to, say, alcohol or pills or something? If you put yourself in the room, like where it's right there in front of you, but you made it impossible to go get it, would that actually work? Like, would that help you get past some of that addiction? Because I guess it would make it to where being in the same room maybe doesn't have the same effect on you, but at the same time, it also kind of, I feel like, would increase that want and desire even more to have it right there, but impossible to get to. It almost feels like it'd be better if you were right there, but I don't know, had somebody that was there to kind of help you take a step back from it. I don't know. I haven't really been super one-on-one close to somebody with an addiction, so I don't know the mental processes that go on with it. But it's just something that I find kind of interesting in my thinking of, would that actually work? Would something like that work in trying to break an addiction? The stuff with Reddington and Dembe, it is also very interesting. I think they're showing that part of why Reddington came back is to find out why Elizabeth was killed. You know, I thought we already had a good sense of it, but I think we're seeing that even though Van Dyke, the guy that shot her, obviously I think he was just doing it to get revenge for, I think it was Townsend was the name of the guy that he was working for last season. I think that was his reasoning. I think that was his motivation. But how something like a guy walking into the middle of the street and shooting Elizabeth, how did he know where they were? How did he get past, all of the eyes that Reddington has? I think there's something else going on that Reddington is pointing out. There are clues as to how he managed to get that close to get a shot on her. And I think that's going to be where the mystery is. I think that's where this season is probably going to start going is, was there a mole maybe on the inside? Because he seems to suggest that very few people knew where they were going to be. I don't think he's suggesting Dembe is the mole, and I don't think Dembe would be the mole. That wouldn't make too much sense to me. And clearly Dembe, when he realized that he missed the fact that Van Dyke was taking pictures of them, it really did seem to eat him up inside. So I think ultimately it doesn't make sense for him to be the mole. I don't think he would have any reason to betray Reddington to the point where Elizabeth would be killed. I think he would want to protect her too. But it does show that he clearly made a mistake that led to this happening. And that's why Red is so pissed at him. And that, honestly, I think he's going to beat himself up about it a little bit too. But as far as the one woman whose name escapes me, I'm pretty sure I remember Ouija is the name of the one girl that's really good with the guns and the fighting and all of that badass stuff. I don't remember the name of Reddington's. I hate to simplify it down so much, but hippie lover is the only thing I can think of. She's just very, into all of the spiritual stuff and the herbs and all of that. That's just, I don't know, hippie comes to mind, and it did seem like they were actually lovers in the night too. So that's just why that phrase came to mind, I guess. But that whole story is not as interesting to me. Honestly, her character for most of this season has just been, no, you don't want to do this. No, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. And that's kind of been it. And, well, on the one hand, I can understand why she's saying that. I do think she has a good reason for that. At the same time, we wouldn't be having this season if Reddington just said, okay, yeah, I agree with you. So it's kind of one of those, I understand. I'm not saying you're wrong in what you're saying. However, for the show to go on, you have to be wrong. You have to, he has to continue with his investigation. So it's like you're basically saying, hey, I don't want this season to happen as a character. And it just makes me not like you as much. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't mind the fact that she's off the show now. It doesn't really bother me. I don't know if she's going to come back and be involved a bit later or not, but that's something to look forward to. The stuff with Cooper, though, we are finally taking a few more steps forward. We see the bartender did drug him, so it does feel like somebody is framing him. Still don't know exactly who might be involved. He does find the bartender, finds him shot. I'm still wondering if this Lewis guy, I think it's Lewis. Again, I know he calls him Lou, and so my mind thinks it would be Lewis. But I still have my suspicions about him, but it could also be involved with whatever's going on with Reddington. You know, it seems like maybe somebody might be working against him, somebody got Liz killed. If that were the case, maybe somebody's trying to do this to Cooper to sort of, I guess, hinder his progress, because they would know that without the task force, Reddington would not be as powerful. He would not have the resources he needs to try to track down whoever got Liz killed. So if that's the case, maybe taking Cooper out would be part of their plan, or maybe it's just something completely separate. You know, maybe it's something from Cooper's past that is coming back to haunt him, that they're trying to take him down. It's just some theories that I'm throwing out there. A couple of them seem a little bit more probable than others, but yeah, I think that's, again, one of the fun things about the Blacklist that I've said in the past, is that feeling of what's happening, piecing everything together, trying to figure out where the story is going to go, and how it all connects to each other in the end. And I think they're doing a good job of that so far. So, that being said, on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now, episode 9, Boukman Baptiste. So this one was fine. I think, you know, everything they did with Dembe and seeing what happened to him after the night of Elizabeth's death, I thought that was fine. I think it did get bogged down a little too much in the whole, oh, but you're black and you're going to be working for the FBI and there's institutional racism against. That got a little bogged down in that story. And again, anytime they try to make it seem like, oh, well, you got to protect our community because we're different. It's like, I mean, that's kind of the opposite of what you want, right? Like the whole thing about racism is that you're seeing them based on the color of their skin. You're judging them based on the color of their skin. So to put yourself in your own community based on the color of your skin, that's basically the opposite of what you should be trying to do, which is, hey, we're all Americans. It doesn't matter what this color is, we're all Americans. Can we just treat each other that way? Like, that should be the basic premise of it. And it feels like there are too many times that their message in shows like this, whenever you get to those moments, like him and Harold having that talk, it's like, well, we got to do it for our people. Why are you talking as if black Americans are your people, but white Americans or, you know, Hispanic Americans or Asian Americans, like, those are not your people. Our people are only black Americans. It should be, no, we're all Americans. Why do we have to separate based on that? It's backwards thinking is what it is. It's kind of regressive thinking, because ultimately it's kind of self-segregation and nobody wants that. So I get the idea of, yes, there has been historical moments of like the FBI, the government, and how they've treated people of color in the past. I get that. And I know that's part of the argument that his daughter's making, but it kind of gets a little lost in translation whenever you bring up present day and try to make it seem like, oh, well, you doing this is betraying us. This is betraying our people, as if your people are not other Americans. So anyways, that's just my own personal thoughts. People might disagree with me. That's fine. I don't care. But outside of that, I think everything going on with Reddington right now and kind of what we're learning, finding out that apparently Van Dyke was not following Dembe the whole day. So I don't really understand, I guess, where they're trying to go with this. I guess they're trying to say that maybe somebody was communicating with Van Dyke and let him know where they were going to be. I guess that seems to be what they're. I honestly thought they were trying to say, hey, Van Dyke, didn't even go there. He has those pictures, but he was not following them. I thought maybe they were going to say, no, somebody else took the pictures and must have sent them to him. But I don't think that's what they were trying to say, because it sounds like he was there at the diner that Dembe and Elizabeth met at. So I think more so they're trying to say he wasn't following Dembe. I don't think he was following Elizabeth, so I think it was just whoever, I guess, turned on Reddington, or whoever told Van Dyke where Elizabeth was going to be told him where to go to see Dembe and Elizabeth, I suppose. I don't know. There's a little bit of mystery and intrigue there, but there's also a little bit of confusion. It feels like it's getting maybe a little too convoluted sometimes. But all in all, I mean, that part of the story is definitely where my interest is at the moment. I want to find out more about what happened. What is the mystery that we don't know about from that night that Elizabeth died? I think that's really where the season seems to be leading towards. And I think there's a lot of potential there. And I hope that they do take full advantage of that. Because again, I feel like the past 2 seasons, a lot of that mystery and intrigue sort of got lost in the feeling of we got to follow Elizabeth trying to take down Red because she, believes that he's a terrible person and all of this stuff. That got a little annoying. It got a little frustrating to the point where those mysteries lost their mystique, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I still wanted to find out. I still wanted to know the answers, but overall I was not sitting there on the edge of my seat going, what's going to happen next? That's kind of how I'm feeling this season, though. It does have me sitting on the edge of my seat, wanting to find out what's going to happen. But with that being said, I feel like we need to start getting those answers soon. I want to start seeing them get more clues to try to figure out and piece together who is behind all of this, who is the one that gave Van Dyke the information to get Elizabeth killed. Because I think that's going to be the end game. But we've been playing around with this idea for most of the season so far. And now that we're getting close to halfway through the season, I want to get, I guess, a bit more of an answer. Because I get the feeling that we are going to find out who turned on Red before we get to the end of the season. The end of the season will probably be about taking them down, more than likely. That's just my guess. So if that's the case, I would like to find out who that is before we get to that point. So that way it's not just we find out who it is and then maybe the last episode is, oh, well, now let's take him down. I want it to be, maybe we find out midway through the season, maybe the halfway point, we find out who did it. And then the second half of the season is about taking them down because, well, I guess unless it's going to be a situation where once they find out, they take him or her down immediately. That would be, I guess, the other way they could do it, but I don't feel like that would be quite as fun to watch. So, yeah, so a lot of fun moments that I feel like are in store in the future. But for this episode, it's, I think, a step in the right direction. It feels like more of a setup for, hey, we're about to find out some more information soon. And I hope that does happen. But all that being said, those are my thoughts on these past 3. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on these 3 episodes? Let me know what we can talk about and discuss. All that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Blacklist reviews. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.